Welcome back to the Sound for More channel. Today I have the pleasure to continue the journey in learning BAM, and we are going to focus on MIDI controller or controllers and this trigger device on the device rack view of BAM. Before I continue, I would like to remind my viewers to subscribe as it helps with growing the channel. Thank you very much. Okay. So we are running BAM in standalone version, as you can see, but of course you have a UV-free support as well, which always helps, which is great from Imaginando. And you see I have a project loaded, so let's click on the plus sign to create a default project. And it's asking me, of course, if I'm sure to create a new project, which I select yes. So now we have a new project, and we need to define a MIDI input, and also we need to define an engine in terms of what the MIDI controller is driving to. If I press keys now on the external MIDI controller, you don't hear anything. Okay. And the other thing to be aware is that the device rack view, which you see here for devices, is available in all the views with the exception, of course, of the last one for the mixer. Okay, so but let's go back to the main one, or stay on the composer view. Okay, so let's select an engine. There is a series of tutorials coming, of course, for engines, but for the purposes of this tutorial, let's click on just on the plus sign here and choose just a basic oscillator as an engine. So this is the oscillator, and it sounds like this. Now, going through the oscillator engine is not the purposes of the current tutorial, but a tutorial is coming on that. If you find that your external MIDI controller doesn't work, what I noticed, particularly after you added an engine, is you need to check your MIDI settings, which you can find under the trigger device, clicking on this icon here. Here you can choose the MIDI input channel. And if you click on all, you can see you can select one MIDI input channel that BAM will be listening to or from. And similar to a device, and you can see my MPK Mini Plus, which is connected to my iPod Pro, but I leave it to all. And similarly, you have a setting for your MIDI output channel and device as well. Of course, you can select BAM or others as well. When you finish, of course, you press OK or cancel if you already set your changes. If at that point you still don't hear any sound, but in this case you hear it, sometimes what I've seen a glitch. So if you move between one view to the next, particularly the composer and the matrix view, or between the mixer and the matrix view, you find that the controller starts to work. So a little bit of a glitch, but it's easy to actually sort out. So let's go back to composer. Now, let's expand a little bit more on the trigger device. So the trigger device is used to select the default note, velocity, time of set, probability of triggering, and re-triggering. Okay, and to see that in action, okay, so if we are inside the composer, which we are, we click on this icon here to randomize. You can see some steps which have been created. Okay, and of course, if you press play, it will play in a loop those steps here for this bar that has been selected. Now, if I was to change the trigger note, you can see is moving up and down. So it's changing the default position of that particular note. Similarly, if I'm using velocity, is going to change the color, is going to change the velocity. So, down to 0, of course, where you don't hear any velocity or any notes really. Now, in terms of how it responds to velocity, we'll have a tutorial later on coming on that. But just to give you an example, if I was to go inside the oscillator view, clicking in here, then I could say on the filter action, the velocity here, and then you can clearly see an example of how this is, of course, changing the basic, the default velocity. Double click to go back to the default setting, of course. You have also time offset, which you can see is moving the time in terms of when it starts. Okay, therefore the movement is horizontally, as you can see, of course. And that helps to, change that offset from a timing perspective. You can also change the probability as well on notes being triggered. Again, you hear that effectively at the clip. And you can see that the probability of notes being played is different. Of course, you set it to maximum as a probability with a double click, and of course they will always play. And then you have retriggering, which tells you how frequent the retriggering for each note. Again, let's listen. You hear that better, of course, if you have less notes, because then you hear better the number of repetitions, right, or retriggering. So you can hear more space between the retriggering, right? Okay, and that is how the trigger device works inside BAM. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the short tutorial, and as always, see you next time. Bye.